At the park. We had a picnic at the park yesterday.
In the kitchen. She's baking cookies in the kitchen.
On the table. The keys are on the table.
Under the bed. The cat likes to hide under the bed.
Between the chairs. He placed the coffee table between the chairs.
Behind the door. There's a coat rack behind the door.
In front of the house. There's a beautiful garden in front of the house.
Next to the library. The coffee shop is next to the library.
Above the clouds. The plane flew above the clouds.
Below the surface. Fish swim below the surface of the water.
Inside the box. The gift is inside the box.
Outside the building. There are protesters outside the building.
Over the bridge. We drove over the bridge to get to the island.
Beside the river. We had lunch beside the river.
Near the school. There's a park near the school.
On the roof. They're installing solar panels on the roof.
At the corner. There's a bakery at the corner of the street.
In the room. The kids are playing in the room.
On the shelf. She placed the books on the shelf.
At the bus stop. I'll meet you at the bus stop.
By the window. She likes to sit by the window and read.
In the city. They live in the city center.
On the island. They spent their vacation on the island.
At the station. I'll see you at the station at 5 p.m.
In the garden. They grow vegetables in the garden.
On the floor. The kids were playing on the floor.
At the office. He left his jacket at the office.
In the car. They waited in the car during the rain.
On the balcony. She enjoys having breakfast on the balcony.
At the airport. She met him at the airport.
In the water. They were swimming in the water.
On the wall. There is a painting on the wall.
At the theater. We watched a play at the theater.
In the countryside. They have a house in the countryside.
On the mountain. They went hiking on the mountain.
In bed. She likes to read before sleeping in bed.
In the bedroom. There's a comfortable bed in the bedroom.
In class. The teacher asked a question while students were in class.
In the library. She found a quiet corner to study in the library.
In school. Students learn various subjects in school.
In hospital. He received treatment for his injury in hospital.
In prison. He served his sentence in prison.
In a building. The offices are located in a building downtown.
In a park. Families have picnics and play games in the park.
In the sea. They went snorkeling to see marine life in the sea.
In a row. The chairs are arranged neatly in a row.
In a line. People stood patiently in a line to buy tickets.
In America. She lives in America.
In Rome. They visited historical sites while in Rome.
In a photo. He keeps a photo of his family in his wallet.
In a picture. There's a beautiful landscape in the picture.
In a mirror. She checked her appearance in the mirror.
In an armchair. He sat comfortably in an armchair by the fireplace.
On a chair. She left her bag on a chair in the living room.
In the shop. They bought groceries in the shop.
At class. The teacher arrived early at class.
At home. They feel relaxed and comfortable at home.
At the library. He met his study group at the library.
At school. Students gathered at school for the assembly.
At work. He completed his tasks efficiently at work.
At university. She met her best friend at university.
At the seaside. Families enjoy picnics at the seaside during the summer.
At sea. The sailors faced rough weather at sea.
At the bottom. The footnote is located at the bottom of the page.
At the top. The title of the document is at the top of the page.
At the door. She stood at the door, waiting for her friend to arrive.
At the window. The cat sat at the window, watching the birds outside.
At the end of the street. They waited for the taxi at the end of the street.
At the back. He sat at the back of the class during the lecture.
At the front. The teacher stood at the front of the room.
At the party. They danced and socialized at the party.
At the concert. We enjoyed the music at the concert.
At the conference. She presented her research findings at the conference.
On the ceiling. There are stars painted on the ceiling of the room.
On the horse. The jockey rode on the horse during the race.
On the plane. They watched a movie on the plane during their flight.
On the train. They enjoyed the scenic views on the train journey.
On a page. The information is on a page in the book.
At the beach. We spent the day at the beach.
In the pool. The kids are playing in the pool.
On the ground. She found a coin on the ground.
At the zoo. We saw many animals at the zoo.
In the closet. She kept her clothes in the closet.
At the mall. They went shopping at the mall.
In the forest. They got lost in the forest.
On the road. There was a deer on the road.
At the museum. We saw ancient artifacts at the museum.
In the attic. They found old photos in the attic.
On the bridge. He proposed to her on the bridge.
At the market. She buys fresh vegetables at the market.
In the basement. The laundry room is in the basement.
On the bus. They talked while sitting on the bus.
At the cafe. They had a coffee at the cafe.
In the classroom. The teacher is in the classroom.
At the hospital. He is recovering at the hospital.
In the hallway. They met in the hallway.
At the grocery store. She bought milk at the grocery store.
In the garage. The car is parked in the garage.
On the porch. They sat on the porch and chatted.
At the intersection. The accident happened at the intersection.
In the restaurant. They celebrated at the restaurant.
On the sidewalk. He walked his dog on the sidewalk.
At the gym. She works out at the gym every morning.
In the office building. His company is in the office building.
On the playground. The children are playing on the playground.
At the hotel. They are staying at the hotel downtown.
In the city center. Their apartment is in the city center.
On the beach. They built a sandcastle on the beach.
At the amusement park. We rode the roller coasters at the amusement park.
At the courthouse. The trial took place at the courthouse.
In the stadium. The game was held in the stadium.
On the hill. There is a bench on the hill.
At the cinema. We watched a movie at the cinema.
In the lobby. They waited in the lobby.
On the staircase. She sat on the staircase.
At the bakery. He bought bread at the bakery.
In the field. They played soccer in the field.
At the pub. They met for drinks at the pub.
In the village. She grew up in the village.
On the path. They walked on the path through the woods.
At the gallery. We viewed the art exhibit at the gallery.
In the cave. They explored the stalactites in the cave.
At the pharmacy. She picked up her prescription at the pharmacy.
In the alley. The restaurant is located in the alley.
At the university. He is studying engineering at the university.
At the factory. He works at the factory.
Underneath the tree. They sat underneath the tree to stay cool.
In the district. They live in the financial district.
In the bay. The boats were anchored in the bay.
On the avenue. The parade went down the avenue.
In the workshop. He built furniture in the workshop.
In the parking lot. They found a space in the parking lot.
At the carnival. The kids had fun at the carnival.
In the neighborhood. They live in a quiet neighborhood.
At the bookshop. She bought a novel at the bookshop.
In the tower. They climbed to the top of the tower.
In the museum. The artifact is displayed in the museum.
At the florist. She bought roses at the florist.
In the headquarters. The meeting was held in the headquarters.
At the warehouse. The goods are stored at the warehouse.
On the lawn. They had a picnic on the lawn.
At the garage. He parked his car at the garage.
At the crossroads. They met at the crossroads.
On the farm. They grew up on the farm.
On the boat. They spent the afternoon on the boat.
In the theater. The play is being performed in the theater.
At the castle. The tour started at the castle.
In the market. Fresh produce is available in the market.
On the rooftop. They had a party on the rooftop.
In the gallery. We saw beautiful paintings in the gallery.
At the festival. They danced at the festival.
In the mountains. They hiked in the mountains.
On the runway. The plane is on the runway.
At the border. They were stopped at the border.
In the arena. The concert was held in the arena.
At the restaurant. They had a reservation at the restaurant.
In the palace. They toured the rooms in the palace.
On the meadow. Wildflowers grow on the meadow.
At the gate. The flight attendants are at the gate.
At the spa. She spent a relaxing day at the spa.
At the bridge. They took photos at the bridge.
On the street. They live on the busiest street.
On the veranda. They enjoyed tea on the veranda.
On the driveway. The car is parked on the driveway.
In the courtyard. They held a party in the courtyard.
On the riverbank. They fished on the riverbank.
At the stadium. The match was held at the stadium.
In the valley. The village is situated in the valley.
At the crossing. There is a guard at the crossing.
At the cliff. They took photos at the edge of the cliff.
On the bank. They relaxed on the bank of the river.
On the riverwalk. They enjoyed a walk on the riverwalk.
At the mill. The grain was processed at the mill.
At the bar. They had a drink at the bar.
At the skyscraper. They work in the tallest skyscraper.
At the hostel. They stayed at the hostel during their trip.
At the fire station. The firefighters are based at the fire station.
In the town hall. The meeting took place in the town hall.
In the parking garage. They parked their car in the parking garage.
On the sand dunes. They went sandboarding on the sand dunes.
In the desert. They camped in the desert.
On the catwalk. The models walked on the catwalk.
In the pub. They had a drink in the pub.
On the patio. We had dinner on the patio.
On the deck. They relaxed on the deck.
On the trail. We went hiking on the trail.
On the platform. He waited for the train on the platform.
At the bus terminal. The bus arrived at the bus terminal.
On the freeway. There was heavy traffic on the freeway.
At the chapel. The wedding was held at the chapel.
In the cabin. They stayed in the cabin by the lake.
On the campsite. We set up our tent on the campsite.
On the dock. They fished on the dock.
At the fair. We enjoyed the rides at the fair.
On the peninsula. They vacationed on the peninsula.
At the outpost. The soldiers were stationed at the outpost.
In the auditorium. The lecture was held in the auditorium.
On the terrace. They had breakfast on the terrace.
In the plaza. There was a fountain in the plaza.
At the embassy. They applied for visas at the embassy.
On the cliff. They stood on the cliff and admired the view.
On the ring road. There was an accident on the ring road.
In the shopping center. They went shopping in the shopping center.
On the embankment. They took a walk on the embankment.
At the observatory. We watched the stars at the observatory.
On the boulevard. They strolled on the boulevard.
On the estate. They hosted a party on the estate.
At the skating rink. We went ice skating at the skating rink.
In the tunnel. The car drove through the tunnel.
On the square. There was a market on the square.
At the market stall. She bought fresh vegetables at the market stall.
In the rainforest. They discovered rare plants in the rainforest.
On the landing. She waited on the landing for her friend.
At the roundabout. Take the third exit at the roundabout.
In the pasture. The cows were grazing in the pasture.
On the fairground. The carnival rides were set up on the fairground.
At the phone booth. He made a call at the phone booth.
In the depot. The supplies were stored in the depot.
On the glacier. They hiked on the glacier.
At the service station. They stopped for gas at the service station.
In the corridor. She met him in the corridor.
On the ferry. They traveled to the island on the ferry.
At the laundromat. She did her laundry at the laundromat.
In the guest house. They stayed in the guest house during their trip.
On the pier. They went fishing on the pier.
At the manor. They visited the historic manor.
On the plantation. They worked on the plantation.
In the coal. They live in the cul-de-sac at the end of the street.
On the lane. The children are playing on the lane.
At the marina. They docked their boat at the marina.
In the embassy. He applied for a visa in the embassy.
On the ridge. They hiked on the ridge of the mountain.
On the summit. They reached the summit of the mountain.
At the playground. The kids are playing at the playground.
In the warehouse. The packages are stored in the warehouse.
On the hillside. They built a house on the hillside.
At the fairground. Rides and games are set up at the fairground.
At the harbor. The boats are docked at the harbor.
In the backyard. The children played in the backyard.
In the canyon. They went hiking in the canyon.
On the shore. They collected shells on the shore.
On the escalator. He stood on the escalator.
At the lighthouse. They visited the lighthouse.
In the orchard. They picked apples in the orchard.
On the highway. The traffic is heavy on the highway.
At the ranch. They raise horses at the ranch.
In the lodge. They stayed in the lodge during the winter.
In the marina. The yachts are docked in the marina.
On the mainland. They returned to the mainland after the trip.
At the pier. They watched the sunset at the pier.